Are you dreaming of the lifestyle that comes with successful trading? Well, it's time to make it a reality. Welcome to the Trading Ascension podcast, where you can discover methods to improve your trading results by focusing on your trading psychology. I'm Jason E., your guide on this path to trading improvement, self-discovery, and self-mastery. Together, we'll explore the personal and spiritual growth journey of profitable day trading. Prepare to unlock the secrets of the trader's mind and align your inner self with your personal success. Listen to this episode if you want to ascend to new levels of trading excellence and personal development. This is Trading Ascension, supporting your journey to mastering trading psychology and personal growth for consistent profits. Let's elevate your trading and your consciousness starting now. It's been a stressful week at work, and it's only Wednesday. And two colleagues, they decide that at the end of the week, Friday after work, they're going to head to the local axe throwing bar for happy hour. Just built the place right up the street from the office. Now, neither of them have ever thrown an axe before, but they're excited. It's something new. It's a great way to burn off stress they've heard and maybe even have some fun competition because they're both super competitive. As they prepare for this outing, both guys, they take the approach completely different. Now, remember, it's Wednesday. And so when it comes to their approaches to learning the game, the first guy, he hops on YouTube, finds a viral video on how to throw an axe extremely hard. The creator is charismatic. The production is top-notch. Axes are flying and breaking boards. And the video makes axe throwing look thrilling, especially when you hit the bullseye with a powerful toss. Now, the comments section, it's buzzing with people bragging about how hard they can throw the axe, and some are lamenting over their struggles to throw hard axes after years of practice and it's still not working. But everyone seems to agree that axe throwing is about tossing that hatchet as hard as possible. Now, the second guy, he takes a different approach. He decides to approach axe throwing like a professional. He visits the World Axe Throwing League website, the WATL, where he learns about scoring zones, rules, and strategies used by competitive players. He discovers that precision matters more than power, and that hitting specific target zones like the bullseyes, those outer bullseyes, or the even outer points they call kill shots, he figured out that was how you win the game. So fast forward to Friday. Both guys, they show up to this axe throwing bar, ready to shake off the week of work and ready to play. Luckily, they decided to get a dedicated scorekeeper because they offered that with a beer package. So they have someone that's going to track their progress and they can learn as they go. So the first guy, he sticks to his plan. He throws every axe with maximum force, aiming for that satisfaction and that feeling of just hitting the board hard and the sound it makes. The second guy, he focuses on his strategy. Light tosses, aim carefully at specific scoring zones. Now, by the end of the session, both guys met their personal goals. The first guy feels great about throwing hard. He even hit the bullseye a couple times. But when the scores are tallied up, it's clear that the second guy, who focused on precision and strategy and played the game like a professional, he came out ahead. First guy was shocked. Now, think about this. Neither of these guys were technically playing the game wrong. Their approach wasn't bad. They both achieved what they set out to do personally, but only one truly understood what the game was about. And he walked away the winner, right? He had a winning strategy. In today's episode, we're diving into the idea of playing the game right, our perspective for trading. Many traders approach trading like that first axe thrower. They focus on catching these large moves, chase profits, and they may not understand what truly drives improvement. Others, they take their time to study the game deeply, build the foundation, focus on consistent improvement. It's all about changing our perspective. We'll explore where most traders miss the mark in understanding what trading is really about and how you can shift your approach to get on the fast track to profitability and your personal success. Do you ever feel like trading success is coming too slowly, or that it's just a perpetual delay? Like you're putting in the work, but the results aren't matching your effort. Maybe you're missing the big picture, stuck running in circles when you could be thriving as a trader, feeling confident, but you're consistently improving and seeing real results. And you can only do that with a change of perspective. It's easy to fall into trading traps. And I'm not talking about the ones on the charts. I'm talking about these mental traps that can unknowingly push us into disempowering perspectives on trading. Instead of those green days and valuable lessons, we're flopping around daily like a fish out of water. Now, when I share these perspectives, it's going to adjust our insight. And I know that your trading actions, and this is actually a good thing, your trading actions likely won't change drastically from this information, but don't underestimate the value of this kind of content. Nothing about the success generator system is meant to overhaul what you're currently doing. It's designed to be a structure that you overlay on top of your existing strategies and techniques, adding a layer of clarity and intention that turns things around. We all trade differently. We see the market differently through our unique lenses. But these conversations about mindset and approach are universal to almost all traders. So remember those axe tossing buddies? They were performing the same actions, but with entirely different mindsets. That's why people with comparison issues get, frustrated, because they'll look at a successful trader and they don't see any visible differences. And they'll just can't put their finger on it. They think, oh, it's not fair. I don't see it. They're not different from me. Why are they making money and I'm not? Trading's a scam. I'll never figure this out. And they'll get stuck into unempowering thoughts. If you're feeling stuck, if you're lacking confidence or seeking into that all too common feeling of being lost and paralyzed, if you're not passing evaluations with ease, or whatever your next milestone is, if you're not breathing with ease while you're trading, then this episode is for you. I haven't named this yet, but maybe like the growth mindset that leads to success or leads to profitability. I'll figure it out. But I want to talk about where most traders miss the mark in understanding what trading improvement is really about and how you can get on the fast track to trading profitability. And when I first started day trading, I would always ask the question, how long have you been trading? When I talk to traders, I always had that curiosity to just talk to other traders. And then, I think Paula T. Webb might have kind of led me to this understanding, but I came to a place to realize that that question is irrelevant because the time that you put into something is very different from the effort or the quality of effort that you put into something within that time. Just like the axe tossing, story, we traders, we can perform the same actions and still not get the results that we truly thought we would from our efforts. We can run in circles without actually improving the craft. And a big reason for this just might be that your perspective on trading isn't working for you. So, perspective on trading. What is trading? Well, I'll be honest, that's for you to decide. What I can confidently say is you need a perspective that fuels your journey with energy and moves you closer to your goals. Would you agree with that? If you don't have the inner drive to persevere in what is arguably the most competitive game on the planet, then you're probably approaching trading the wrong way, or it's just not for you. If your approach leaves you stagnant, where you aren't realizing even the slightest of improvement, either in your stats, data, or in your emotional fortitude and spiritual belief, if that's the case, you might be playing the game wrong. If you feel like trading is like this Six Flags roller coaster with these extreme highs and extreme lows versus just the normal playground swing up and down, back and forth, you might be looking at the game the wrong way. If your approach to trading is filled with more blame, like they're hunting my stops, than it is accountability, I have to figure this out, how to time my entries better, then yeah, you're likely playing the game wrong. When I talk about an effective trading approach needing to provide you with motivation and energy to keep going consistently until your goals are realized, I'm speaking mostly from the perspective of energy and spirituality. Also, an effective trading perspective should help you see the next action step on the path clearly. Listen, it's important that we all understand that we have an energy path designed at birth to guide us to personal fulfillment. So how do you know that's true? Well, have you ever been happy about something or something benefited you and it gave the opposite effect to another person? They weren't as happy, didn't benefit them. Let me ask you this. How many times this week have you visualized a deep purple G-Wagon with these sparkle flakes all over it? Oh, you haven't? Well, I just saw one the other day and the owner was ecstatic to have it. So although we all think that what we want, everyone wants, when it comes to our true desires, when we peel the layers back to what we really want, it's usually unique. So it's not hard to fathom we all have a unique journey on Earth. Some call this unique journey a path or a life purpose, which we can only find this energy path by filling the energy into it, filling our way into it, matching the energy of it so that it provides an energy trail to guide our actions. And I believe that's knowledge that all humanity, should embrace. Now, I can't tell you about your personal path in detail, but I can tell you, and I believe better than anyone on the planet, I can tell you this, my opinion, how to move toward it, how to beat the bushes so it reveals itself and you can follow the trail. The key to doing this as a trader, the foundation to having a perspective that provides energy for the journey and allows you to grow in areas that you need to, to fulfill your trading life and purpose, is built on this quote. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius said, what stands in the way becomes the way. So, Marcus Aurelius Antonius was a Roman emperor from 161 to about 180. It's weird to say those early years. And he also was a Stoic philosopher. Interesting life, but you can research that on your own. What I want to say is when we see the truth in this quote and we implement it, we achieve trading milestones. When we embrace this holistic growth approach to day trading, we start to get results. And here's why. Let me break it down as simply as I can. Trading has very few physical aspects. Unlike that axe throwing analogy, there's no extreme physicality to it, right? Just keyboard pressing, moving the mouse. I'm doing this like weird side to side thing. Keyboard, I think it's from a Instagram video I saw, but keyboard pressing, moving the mouse around. That's it. So with that being said, we can accurately say that trading primarily requires thoughts and ideas, and then they are conveyed through the mouse moving and the button clicking. As humans, actions are always influenced by what we think, believe genuinely and subconsciously, paired with what we feel. What we think, believe, and feel. Now, matching that trio and making sure they're all aligned with each other, it makes us successful in anything we do. Similarly, if we wholly believe that we are successful traders and we conduct consistent, successful trading actions, then we'll reach our trading goals. When our mindset is focused on the wrong things, it can be detrimental to our trading career. A lot of times on the journey, people can ignore the dirty work, what they need to do in order to focus on the more glamorous things. But when you do that, you're playing the game wrong. One thing I noticed in myself and when I was doing mastermind groups was that the lack of data always made the solution seem like it was to win more or to make more money. When a trader didn't have data, the obvious answer was, I just need to make more money. I need a higher close, percentage of winning rate. But a lot of times that wasn't the problem. It wasn't what was holding them back. But without data, it's kind of just the default answer. It's glamorous, right? I'm going to win more. That'll solve all of this. And look, I can't tell you what trading is about to you, but I can say what is obvious. And what is obvious is what stands in the way becomes the way. My friend, that hurdle, that problem, that roadblock in trading or your life is uniquely yours. Marcus somehow knew that when we start to solve the challenges right in front of us, things that are just stopping us from taking the next step, maybe even just pestering us while we take the next step. When we start to solve these things, behind that adversity is a blessing, a reward, a gift. My suggestion for rapidly improving your trading is to have an accountability problem-solving perspective. This means you take ownership of your reality. When you have a problem-solving attitude, your trading will improve. And let me use a sports reference to help us better understand this. I think this will make sense. Maybe I'll just be yapping, but think about American football, right? It's a game played on a 100-yard field. At the end of the 100 yards is a scoring area called the end zone, right? So let's ignore field goals for the sake of my point. So the 100-yard field is divided into 10-yard chunks. And while a team only gets 4 chances, right, 4 downs to get to that scoring zone, every time they accomplish 10 yards, their 4 chances resets back to 1. The last factor in American football is the defense. And those are the folks that are trying to stop the forward progress, right? They don't want the other team to get those 10 yards or ever reach that scoring zone. Now, in football, the wrong perspective would be trying to get to the scoring zone on every play. Those huge trades every single play. That long Hail Mary throw every down. When a team tries for long plays every time, they miss the opportunity to get 10 yards and reset that 4-chance counter, right? So this played out early in my career when you over leverage too many contracts, your quantity's too big, then only a few losses, maybe 4, like the 4 downs, and the account's blown. Also, on the other side, if a team is too focused on getting the 10 or all the yards to score, they may, in that approach, forget that the defense is trying to take them down, right? So there's many factors, but there's a foundation of factors. So my point is, the right perspective in football doesn't ignore those 3 main factors. It kind of balances them. Let's get enough first downs to reset how many times we can do this. Let's try to score, and let's stop the defense solve those problems ahead of us. Does that make sense? In trading, we want to grow the account. We want those huge trades, but it's the small trades that allow us to stay in the game. And we also want to solve the problems that are slowing our growth down. We need to balance this trading approach for those nuances of this endeavor. So let's break that down. The actions to set up a growth-minded approach to day trading, a perspective that will yield all your desired results, it comes in several steps. Now, only a few of which are relevant to today's topic, but I want to kind of set the foundation. It's kind of getting repetitive, but I want to be very thorough and paint a full picture by setting the foundation that a trader needs to even be eligible to implement a growth approach. So I'm doing that because I want no one to walk away from listening to this episode and not have a better chance to succeed. Sometimes I say, hey, go check out this episode for the foundation, but I'm going to break the foundation down here briefly. All right, we don't have to go backwards. Sometimes you have to bend a little down to go forward or to go up. So I want to break down the foundation of the trading success generator system, which will lead us into how to implement a problem solving, change your perspective, more positive growth focused mindset into our trading. So it starts with, you have your trading goals, right? That's the foundation. Give me a second here. I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I feel like getting cut off. Let me just check my noise gate here. Okay. Might be a little better. Thought you guys hear my squeaky chair. We'll leave it right there. That should work. Okay. So you have your trading goals. Next, you need a strategy. And your trading goals might be, X amount, why you're doing trading. Again, I'm going to do this brief. We won't break this down. But you can always reach out to me. There are other episodes we talk about this. I don't have them teed up to tell you which ones. Usually they're the start of the year episodes. So you can look back to 2023 or 2024, 2022 start of the year shows, usually 3-part series. Trading goals, then you need a strategy. And write this down if you aren't familiar with this and not one of the community members that know this. Most people have these things in their mind, or it's just kind of vaguely typed out or written somewhere. But like we always talk about, we don't want ambiguity in anything we do. No ambiguity, especially in the foundation of what we're building here. That would be like having a crack in your building foundation, right? Makes the whole structure lose integrity, become weaker, especially over time. So, got your goals, got a trading strategy. Inside your trading strategy, you need three things, just the basics. This is the skeleton, right? First thing you need is an entry, something that states when the market does X, I enter the market, I play the game. X is being the edge that you're looking for, right? That market occurrence that you have identified as opportunity. Then the next statement is, okay, once I enter the market, I manage my trade like this. Fill in the blank, right? And that's the price action trailing or take profit strategy that you have. And then last thing is, I exit when this happens. Entry, in trade management, exiting are the three pillars of a trading strategy. You need clarity there, no ambiguity, written down, or it's not real. Now, strategies. In trading, dime a dozen. You can get them in books, get them online, get them from AI. They don't inherently have value because you, as the operator, control what happens with any strategy. Doesn't matter which one you have, but it does matter that you have one. Now, once you have a strategy, you need a trading plan. A trading plan adds a few things to strategy. It adds risk management to your strategy, which, when you think about the football reference, risk management is like getting those 10-yard gains. The longer you have an account, the more chances you have to score, to get bigger trades. The only way to not be a trader, and this is my opinion here, I guess this all is, but the only way to not be a trader is to not have an account. You can be a break-even trader. You can be a losing trader. You can be a winning trader. But as long as you're, focused on keeping your status as a trader and you're holding an account, live account, then you're a trader. So a trading plan is created by having a strategy, adding risk management to the plan, and then lastly, you're adding market context. Now, market context is an enhancement aspect where you refine your strategy based on experience in the live market. That experience piece is why a strategy initially isn't the most important thing, because experience allows you to hone it into a working masterpiece. For example, maybe your trading strategy, after running it for some time, you realize you are, trailing your runners too close and getting stopped out. Those pullback and goes just take you out of all the trades when you could have more profit. So you use that experience to enhance your in-trade management strategy. And it's something you have to learn. When you get to strategy, people can give you some of these things, but you have to learn them. So you have that, right? You have the trading plan. At this point, your focus as a trader is twofold. So at this point, this is what it would mean to be a trader. One, you keep your plan consistent so that the output from your input has a static property to it. Only through consistent input and a plan, it's just a consistent plan, not even consistent actions, because your system works on making your actions consistent. So you just want a consistent plan, right? The hypothesis, the recipe, the experiment that you're doing, you want the input to have the same goals. That end goal, right? It's just about starting and sticking to one plan. Because doing this allows a trader to produce data that is trusted or can be trusted, and also somewhat predictable. It's like an experiment. You remember, I know I've said this before, but you remember high school chemistry. Like you're in elementary, right? When you do this, you're mixing chemicals at home to make that volcano that we all loved in school. You guys remember that? Little vinegar, baking soda, food coloring. Volcano, yeah. So at home, you might mix 1 cup of vinegar and 1 cup of baking soda. Now, if you did that 5 times with the same ratio, when the science fair comes, when you take it to school, you know exactly what is going to happen. You can even put the little plate around it, the little barrier just far enough so where that lava comes down, it's not going to spill off because you know what's going to happen. So that would be an example of a consistent trader seeking to do everything the same regarding their trading plan, which produces the data that truly tells a story. We'll talk about the importance of that story in just a second. Now, some traders are following emotions, hunches. They're following other traders. And I felt like when I was on that path, I was doomed. Not having a static plan is like using a sloppy process for making that volcano. Like the first time you're mixing a cup of vinegar and a cup of baking soda, but then again, the next time it's a cup of vinegar and a half cup of baking soda. Then later it's a tablespoon of vinegar and 2 cups of baking soda. And this is us just, as a trader, this would be them like a hunch. I'm gonna enter now, I'm enter here, enter now. And then at the end of it, they say, you know what? I'm gonna do my experiment on magnetism. And they start over, right? And that's what traders do. They enter their market randomly, then they say, oh, I'm gonna try a new strategy. New experiment. That's what we're doing when we don't adhere to our trading strategy and trading plan. We have to keep it simple. If we don't keep it simple, we'll never figure out how to make the best volcano for the science fair. So, the first role of a trader is a consistent plan and consistent actions of that plan. Now, the second job of a growing trader is to capture data. The plan for the science fair says, maybe this is how they go into it. Mix 2 ingredients. And the strategy, that's the plan. The strategy dictates the ratio of those ingredients. So if you're preparing for a science fair, you say, okay, I'm mixing 1 cup of baking soda, half cup of vinegar. You take that action, you write down what happened. Oh, I just got a little reaction, not big enough. Really want to blow the socks off the class. So then you can change the ratio, write it down. Okay, better. Let me adjust it, write it down again. So do you see how adjusting from reality, from data, could more quickly lead you to desired results? So you have consistent input guided by a strategy and a plan, and you have data that you've captured from that input. The data tells us exactly where the gap is between our goals and our current performance. A trader with data always has a chance to improve. A trader with no data always has a chance to fail. So let's talk data. Things like a trade log. I personally take a screenshot of every entry. Entries into your trading journal are still in that data family. Anything we log related to our trading journey. Understanding there are many ways to get data, right? Trade performance and basically journaling. So there's 2 trading data categories that we have to be mindful for, right? 2 categories in which we're getting this data. Although there's many ways to capture data, they fall into 2 categories. Number 1 is plan adherence data, how closely we follow the plan when we execute it, or how close to the plan were your executions. Guess that makes more sense. And then there's trading results data. Those things like the, P&L, win and loss, things that are usually stored in your trade performance tab. So it's important to know the difference, because any changes you make to one of these two areas happen on a different timeline depending on what category the data falls into. So let me explain that. So I have the foundation, right? Goals, a plan, a strategy, and I traded it 10 times this week. The plan adherence data will say something, this is examples. I followed my strategy 4 times out of 10 trades. Well, on the plan adherence timeline, I think 10 events, 10 iterations is enough data to realize that change is needed. If you can't do what you said you needed to do, then you need to fix that, right about the 10 trades mark minimum. So that's that timeline. It's a lot shorter, plan adherence. Now for the other type of data, the results data, let's say I traded 10 times and lost 9 times, won once. On this timeline, that's not enough data to warrant a change, right? We don't want to fall into the trap of strategy switching, which we all know, but Mark Douglas let us know. Paula T. Webb lets us know that's one of the biggest hindrances to success. Because, on this timeline, it could be market conditions, certain days. When it comes to that trade output data, the iterations or the data points follow this rule. The more, the better. Bigger the sample size, the better. More data, better. Because you need your strategy to see different market conditions to confirm any biases. So maybe you trade that way for months, 100 times, 1,000 times before you say, okay, I need to adjust. I can't give you a solid number, but it's more the better when it comes to trade performance data and analyzing it. So let's recap before we move forward. Then we'll talk about that plan adherence data as the main message of today's show. You need a strategy, a trading plan, and there are 2 main focuses at that point: consistent adherence to the plan and capturing data. The data states that you aren't following your plan. In that area, it needs to be addressed every 10 or so data points or trades, basically. Now, the data of what happened to a trader or what happened as the results of following that plan, that needs a large amount of data before we seek change. Just make sure we're not got enough space here to keep going. So the data of what happened to a trader needs a large amount. The plan adherence data needs a smaller amount. The data is so important, and I hope you better understand why. It's not about being rigid or a numbers nerd. It's about getting the right information that can help you adjust your science project so it accomplishes the results you desire. That's the foundation that, a lot of traders are lacking. It's just a simple trading foundation. So back to Marcus Aurelius, who said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This level of proficiency or professionalism is something a large amount of traders never reach because they never set up the foundation. The trading plan we talked about and the trading strategy and the 2 focuses of that. For those who do, Marcus Aurelius illuminates the next step on a trader's journey to profitability with his quote. What if trading wasn't about P&L? We're talking about a new growing trader. What if it isn't about the strategy you initially choose? We're talking about just changing perspectives. What if it wasn't about the things traders are marketing and trying to sell to us? We're talking about how to get personal success. I believe it's what Marcus said. Finding your way by what's in your way. For example, let's say after 10 trades, I review my trading journal and trading results log and trade images. I compare them on certain days and I realize that I'm entering the trade late because I'm afraid and I want this extra confirmation. Then I get in late, miss the move, and lose trades that I could have won. There are allowable losses, and then there's the adherence issues with that. Oh, you know what? If I did the right thing, I would have won that trade. Losing's part of the game, but only allowable losses. So if I make that one issue, right, I'm entering late, my sole focus, and I work on it to destroy it and improve it, I'll improve as a trader. I'll eliminate that personal baggage that's stopping me from acting in my own best interest. So I'm focused on the one thing instead of halfway solving so many issues. I'm killing that one issue in a way that lowers the chance of it being a zombie issue. You ever had a zombie issue? Something in life or trading that just, you kind of ignore it, maybe fix it instead of solve it, only to have it rise against you again at a later time. What is the journey about if not solving so many challenges and overcoming so many hurdles that all that is left is success? Maybe you don't believe that, but I know that that's potentially the name of the game. And your data are the issues standing between you and success. When this week, we're locked in on eliminating last week's biggest issue, we improve. We become more professional. These issues are anything that hindered us in the past, so problems to solve don't have to come from one form. It could be greed, fear, FOMO, things like that, or things like that hinder our plan adherence, or it could be a plan that over time data says it just isn't working in these market conditions. Strategy's not good. So our next hurdle at this point could be being tired, not able to focus. It could be not being able to follow the strategy rules. It could be a tech issue. It could be lagging computer. It could be a roommate busted into the office distracting you. What stands in the way becomes the way. When you seek victory over small things in your life that are in your way today, you start to lighten the load and ensure that your future self doesn't have so much baggage to carry. When you solve today's and this week's problems until they are completely eliminated from your reality, you place yourself on higher timelines. You almost dimension jump into a reality in which things are different. I know you've heard me say this before, but my greatest moments on earth are facing similar situations and reacting differently than I did previously. Feels amazing. And this allows us to not fall back into these loops for another cycle, the same lesson. When you elevate above these by solving problems, it's important that you celebrate your growth. It's important that you give gratitude to it. And, for me last week, I faced a similar situation. It's testing me, trying to loop me back into a cycle. And I feel like I escaped. And you want to escape your problems, right? Well, start by passing the test by showing up different to similar situations and triggers and solving more problems in your way instead of ignoring them, especially in trading, thinking that more profits is the only answer. Understand you may not even be able to perceive these problems unless you have data. No data, it's like fighting in the dark. You'll get slapped around, unable to know, where it's coming from, when it's coming, so you can get out of the way. You'll just think, I gotta win more. A key part to eliminating these trading problems that do arise from our data is using the contrast to create clarity. You see, what is undesired illuminates a path when you sit down and focus on what should replace that. Our hurdles, our challenges, our problems only have our energy to live off of. So to completely destroy them, we have to figure out new ways to think and act to replace those old mindsets and old habits. I don't know if it's true, but they say there's no vacuums on the universe. And I believe it's true because anytime I've seen someone or myself have personally tried to eliminate a habit, if I didn't replace the habit, that empty space was filled back up with that habit again. I noticed that when my trading is reaching momentum and I'm in a flow that spans over, a couple weeks, right about that point, my data says I start to experience tech issues in my life. I create these issues that are unsolvable, at least at the moment. And just last week, right, I was thinking at night, man, I'm on a great run. And then that same week, I had this terribly freezing charged lagging computer. So I updated Windows, and that update forced me to have to renew all my tech license related to trading. I had to upgrade my trading platform. So in the middle of the week, I didn't even get to the charts until like 3 or 4 hours after the opening. On top of that, I just had a new funded account. So I was a little anxious, right? Wanting to get it off to a great start, get it caught up. But I was approaching this minor challenge. Didn't seem minor at the time, but minor in retrospect, with experience, because I had faced it before. And I had the data of the previous battle, so I could recognize the foe. Had that situation. I had a tech issue in December and it devastated me, right? Eliminated 7 of the 13 funded accounts I had. So I knew last week when I got that feeling, when I saw this issue, I said, you know what? You're not going to get the same reaction out of me this time. I'm ignoring you. You're not in my reality. Now I'll have other issues, maybe even similar issues, but I've seen the challenges change in nature, and I've seen myself growing bigger than these problems. T. Harv Eker always said there are no big problems, just small people. The bigger the problems, the bigger the life. Now think about this in the world of personal problems. Somebody in the world right now can't figure out how to pay their $1,500 rent. Somebody else owes $15,000 in taxes on the apartment building they own. Life problems never cease. They're at every level. But I can say in trading, there is a finite amount of low-level trading issues and internal baggage that you have to drop before you can see a vast majority of what could actually happen for your specific market approach. So you can get to a point where you just don't have the same problems. Last step, you need to analyze your data. And so let me walk you through kind of like a Friday or a weekend activity, right? I'll just use some simple numbers. It's Friday. I've been scalping all week, and let's say that's 10 trades every day So I have trade performance data on 50 trades. Now, 50 trades, again, not enough data for me to say, oh, is this scalping working? But it is enough data, more than enough data for me to look at my adherence. Am I doing what the strategy and what the plan says after 50 attempts? And then every day I had like a long journal entry. So let's say 50 trades, 5 journal entries for the week, bunch of pictures of the trades. So remember, there are 2 timelines, right? Again, the other one, changing a strategy, long timeline. We're not going to talk about that right now, because most traders aren't strictly following a trading plan, right? You need a lot more time for that. And maybe just briefly, I'll talk about this because I feel like I don't want to leave it hanging out there. But on that longer timeline, 2 months in the strategy, if I was following the same structure, 50 trades a week, if I did that for 2 months, I'd have about 400 trades logged. Now, if that data at that point says my strategy works 10% of the time after 400 trades, right? It might be some time to make some adjustments. I might need to figure out, average win, average loss, and see what needs to be adjusted to reach profitability. Mentors, strategy expectations. There are a lot of other factors that can help you adjust parts of your strategy. But again, let's just focus this week on plan adherence data. It's what we'll have to deal with on a smaller timeline and more likely to be the problem for a novice, or just a trader who's not where they want to be. So I'm looking at 50 trades for the week. The strategy in the setup process is broken down into steps or rules, if you will. That was a tough word. For example, my entry criteria needs 5 things to happen per my strategy rules. When those 5 things happen, that's when I enter the market. When I enter the market, I have 1 rule for trade management, right? Like how to trail the price action. Let's say I trail by 1 bar. And then the exit rule, right? When the market hits my target 2, or I'm stopped off, or stop loss is hit, I'm done, right? So simple exit rule. Whatever your rules are, they are written, typed out. If they're typed out, they're printed out. And every day, or at the end of the week, they're reviewed. And they're reviewed using a scoring system. So if I had 5 entry criteria, 1 trailing rule, that would give me 6 possible points to make a perfect trade based on my system. And sometimes these categories aren't binary, meaning, it's not a did or I did not do thing. Maybe you have it broken down like 3 points for the entry that's correct, 2 points for an entry that's early, but your plan, it allows for that. So you want to have the wiggle room so you're not trying to be a robot, but you also want to make sure that you're having your A++ set up within there and you're scoring that accordingly. So I'm just helping you think through this, right? A lot of ways to set up this scoring system. So the possible amount of points per trade. So I'll start to grade my trades. So let's say in this example, 50 trades times 6 possible points. That means that a perfect week, right? No one's perfect, but a perfect week would be 300 points. Now, if I scored in reality, looking back, judging these pictures, takes time, right? But it's worth the day. Let's say I did that and I realized I scored 165 points, which means I adhered to my plan at about a 55% rate. So first thing I want to do, I'm going to go check the journal, right? I'm looking for clues. I might see losing days that correlated with bad sleep or waking up late. or certain coffee that made me loopy. The journal clues, if you're being honest when you write them down, are extremely helpful to gaining insight on our personal psyche. So now I want to go to the trade rules and see which rules were broken most. What out of the 6 points was hardest to adhere to? Then I want to know why. So after filtering through the data and the journal, I want to single out the top 1, 2, 3 at the most issues. Now, at this point, I'm looking for a relationship between these issues because they may be able to be solved with the same solution. But I'm keeping it limited because I'm laser focused on solving 1, 2, top 3 issues, preferably 1. For example, maybe when I was entering the trade late, I was moving my stop loss because I was entering late. And so I have 2 rules that are broken by the same action. And the reason we look for error relationships is so we can potentially solve numerous issues with single changes in action. So if I entered on time, my stop wouldn't be a factor, right? I wouldn't have to move it. I'd be less likely to break that rule. So we also want to lump errors into one solution because we must focus on solving a small amount of issues at one time. When we try to fix everything at once or overhaul our business or our strategy, we can end up chasing our tail, right? Making a lot of minimal tweaks, but nothing that moves the needle. It's like those people in those cash vaults when cash is flying around, they're trying to grab it. It's just, cash is everywhere. Trying to grab it. So lock in on the most frequent problem occurrence from last week and start with a new action step. Maybe it's the old action step and nothing new is needed, but you still have to get super clear on the proper action that you need to be taking. Right? Because something didn't register last week. There was ambiguity or another issue to solve. Now, if the example again was the late entry and I scored, 40% or 55%, whatever, or 55 was the total. So let's say on that one rule, 40% was my adherence. My next week goal is to improve that score. For this whole next week, all I want to focus on is entering the trade at the right time. Now, I'm going to do everything else to the best of my ability, but my life as a trader right now is about eliminating this one issue. It's in my way. It is the way. It becomes my life focus. I'll work on that issue until my score is better. And the scoring system's up to your discrepancy, right? Or your discretion, right? Is that the word I'm looking for? I usually like to score above 85% before I consider an issue to be, solved. Up to you. Look, I don't care how many weeks it takes to fix that one issue. There's some issues I work on for a long time, right? And then sometimes you get that score and you can move on, but you have to make sure it's done. Right? Stay on it like a dog on a bone and understand that it will try to zombie back. So you have to solve the problem. Then you have to wait for it to happen again as a test to make sure that you're going to be different. Did they really change? Life is saying to you, let's test them. Let's put them in that same situation and see if they show up like that old person, proving that they really are that old person. They haven't changed. But when you decide to have the awareness of these problems, you solve them, and then you wait for that zombie and you show up different. Oh, you know what? That same factor movement that made me get in early. Nope, not anymore. I'm truly different. If you change your focus and decide that you're focused mainly on solving the trading issues you face and related issues to your trading, you'll start to see permanent improvement and less roller coaster experience. Now, what's crazy is how many traders aren't even playing the game that way, so they never get to that boss battle that comes with this level of professionalism, right? Because solving these problems only brings a bigger problem, but that big problem is, when you beat the boss, you won the game. So the boss battle, it may have come up in your mind as I've been speaking, and you're saying, hey, Jason, I have data. I can see where I don't follow the game plan and do what I need to do, but I don't know how to defeat this current habit. I can't seem to show up differently when I face these similar situations. Yeah, it happened before, and I did the exact same thing that I did last time. I don't have a systematic way to grow. Well, you got data, so all of those are good problems to have. When you don't have the foundation, a trader without a strategy, a plan, and data can never have a successful system. But now you do. So you deserve the ability to change your behavior, to grow from this data. It comes from a behavioral change model. So what we're going to do in the next episode, we're going to talk about changing behavior and overcoming the things that are holding you back, so you can do what you say you're going to do, adhere to your trading plan, and become the best version of yourself, merging into your future self and realizing your trading dreams. All of that we'll touch on in the next episode and basically talk about the 4 pillars of proven behavioral change, how to master yourself and your trading. And I may not title it that, but that's just, the gist of it. Thanks for tuning in. These episodes are now automatically loaded to YouTube. So if you want to help me out, you can go over there and like it on YouTube. I don't do a lot there, just kind of RSS feeds over. Share this with some other traders. Start real conversations that aren't glamorous, but incredibly valuable to what we do. Here's to being the hero of your story. I'll speak with you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Trading Ascension Podcast. I hope you found valuable insights to help you on your day trading journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your support by subscribing and leaving reviews helps me reach more traders like you and continue to provide this valuable content. Don't forget to head over to the tradingascension.com website for free resources, more tips, and exclusive content. If you can't wait till the next show, check out some of the previous episodes. They're great. But do join me on the next episode. And until then, keep ascending, stay mindful, and remember, your journey to mastering trading psychology for consistent profits starts with your willingness to embrace personal growth.